When it comes to raising our family on a vegan diet, we as vegan moms strive to provide the best that we can. Provide the best and most wholesome food. We read nutrition labels, we meal plan, but there's always that little doubt in the back of your mind of whether you're doing things right. This can leave you feeling lost and overwhelmed. So you do what most of us naturally do, look up information online to find answers to your most pressing questions on how to ensure your kids thrive. However, there are some misconceptions about what is best or healthiest for your vegan kids, leaving you even more confused with conflicting information. You worry at each meal, you question what you give, and I know that you just want peace of mind. So today we're going to break down those misconceptions that we may hear. I'm going to share with you 5 strategies you can implement right now to help support a proper growth for your vegan child. Each of these steps build on each other so that by the 5th strategy, you'll have a wider understanding of what it means to support your vegan child's growth. So let's get started. I want to start off by sharing a story of a past client, Melissa, which I changed her name for privacy. Melissa started working with me because she felt very concerned about her daughter's weight. After visiting her pediatrician, she realized that her daughter's weight wasn't following a healthy growth pattern. That brought an overwhelming worry and guilt. Melissa thought she was doing everything right. She was offering vegetables and fruit to her daughter at every meal. She knew that these plant foods offered important nutrients for her daughter. I mean, we are raising vegan kids. They are supposed to have plenty of veggies, right? Melissa had the right intentions, and I was so happy to see that vegetables and fruits were part of the meal she prepared for her family. While vegetables and fruits do provide health and nutritional benefits to children, many lack one particular nutrient that should be a focus for growing children: calories. Melissa had good insight in what to feed her daughter to ensure she was getting her nutrients from a vegan diet. She just needed some guidance on how to plan her meals to ensure they were providing adequate calories to support the growth of her daughter. Vegetables and fruits are great plant foods. They offer fiber, antioxidants, and several vitamins and minerals. But when feeding vegan kids, they shouldn't be the main consideration when planning meals. Calories should be a priority when planning meals and snacks. Kids need adequate energy to not only grow, but support a healthy brain development as it rapidly develops. They need plant foods that are going to give them the adequate calories, such as avocado, tofu, and nut butters, to name a few examples. In my previous YouTube video, I share 4 plant foods that provide adequate calories to support a proper growth for vegan kids. I'll share a link to that video in the description below so that you know how to incorporate these calorie-rich foods into your meals. You may have heard that you can't meet your protein needs from a vegan diet, let alone for a growing child. In hearing that it is not possible to meet protein needs from plant foods makes us worry as to whether or not we're providing the appropriate amounts and foods for our growing children to meet their protein needs. Our society today places so much emphasis on protein, especially protein from animal-based foods. Protein is important for various reasons, like building muscle and ensuring proper growth, but all plant foods provide some amount of protein. You and your kids can meet your protein requirements exclusively from a vegan diet. That's because all plant foods provide the essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein that helps us thrive. So while protein is important on a vegan diet, it may surprise you to hear that children don't actually need as much protein as you may think. It's fairly easy for them to meet their protein requirements as long as you provide adequate calories in their diet, which is why I mentioned calories as the #1 meal strategy. But instead of thinking about protein when planning your meals, I want you to make just a little shift and think about iron when planning your meals. Children need much more iron during periods of rapid growth than they do protein. As they are growing, they are building blood, and iron is an essential element for producing blood. Without adequate iron, your child may lack the ability to produce red blood cells and be able to carry oxygen throughout their body. That is why iron should be the focus of meals rather than protein. Now, what you may not know is that iron-rich foods like beans, lentils, and tofu are actually going to be your protein-rich foods too. How amazing is that? So when you're planning meals, think about what source of iron you should include in your meal. That's the small shift I encourage you to do. In my free starter kit, which you can grab in the description below, I lay out some examples of iron-rich foods and show you an example of a meal that includes just that. Alex is a past client of mine that was using nutritional yeast in her everyday meals to meet vitamin B12 needs for her family. She would sprinkle it on steamed veggies, on pasta, and anything else where nutritional yeast would pair well with plant foods. Like Alex, I love nutritional yeast and use it in a variety of different meals for my family. Nutritional yeast that is fortified with vitamin B12, meaning it's something that has been added to the product, is a great staple to have at home to meet this key nutrient for our vegan kids. But like Alex, I don't want you to make the same mistake. Nutritional yeast should not be relied on as a way to primarily meet vitamin B12 needs. That's because the amount of vitamin B12 can vary from product to product, and not all nutritional yeast products are fortified. So it's best not to rely on nutritional yeast just to meet vitamin B12 requirements for your family. The most reliable way to meet vitamin B12 needs is through a reliable B12 supplement. So this can be through a multivitamin for your kids, a sublingual tablet for yourself that goes under the tongue, or a liquid B12 for the entire family. Nutritional yeast can still be part of your family's diet. It just shouldn't be used to rely on meeting B12 needs. I have a great free resource that you can grab in the description below where I share when to begin supplementing with vitamin B12. There are times when our vegan kids don't want to try their veggies, let alone eat them. This may lead you to think of your vegan child as a picky eater or a fussy eater. And this may also lead you to feeling anxious and perhaps even frustrated that they're not eating plant foods that you know are beneficial for their growth. And I get that. As a mom myself and a daughter who is still learning to like several plant foods, I know just how much you want them to eat those foods. Many of us react to this by either hiding these veggies in certain foods like muffins or blending them into soups and smoothies so that they don't see them. Your intentions are valid, and I fully understand why you would hide or blend these foods, but it does a disservice to your child and to you. That's because when you hide or blend foods in your children's meals just to get them to eat it, it leads your child to learn not to trust you in what you're providing them. And it may actually lead to the behavior of picky eating to become worse. It also slowly weakens that trusting bond that they had in you feeding them, a bond that they so desire from you as a parent and leader. Exposure to a variety of foods, and especially to those plant foods that your child is still learning to like, is the key to helping your vegan kid eat those foods. Kids need 10, 20, 50 times to see, smell, touch, and eventually taste these foods to be okay with eating them. Now, I know how tough this may be, but it's a short-term frustration that will lead to a lifelong healthy relationship with food for your child. The more ways you allow your vegan child to engage with these foods, the more opportunities they will have to be exposed to them, and the more likely they will eat those foods. Oftentimes as vegan moms, we focus on the amount our vegan infant, toddler, or child ate at a particular meal. We feel a bit worrisome when they don't take a bite of an item on their plate, or we feel anxious when they start throwing food off their plate. These are real life scenarios for many of us and experiences that often makes us want answers on how to fix. But what if I told you that these scenarios are actually typical behaviors of our kids' development? What if I told you that your anxiety is okay to feel and be aware of, but not to react to it by trying to fix the situation? I know that may be hard to hear for some, but Here's why I say that. When we focus on the details of what happened or didn't happen at a particular meal, that prevents us from actually helping our vegan kids try their foods. It keeps us in that constant state of fear and anxiety of just wishing our kids will eat certain plant foods. And those are feelings I know too well as a vegan mom myself. But we have to remember that kids are still learning to eat. Eating is a skill they need to learn, and with that, they need time, patience, and a lot of support from us as their leader in learning to eat these foods. So instead of focusing on what they didn't eat at lunch, instead of focusing on the number of bites they took, I encourage you to take a step back and look at how that meal went. Did they move that broccoli they're not a fan of to the side of their plate? Great, that counts as exposure and a win. Did they pick up a piece of cucumber for the first time but didn't eat it? That's great too, because they are engaging with that food and counts as exposure. When you look at how the overall day and week went from a view of exposure, your day will no longer be consumed by thoughts of, will they eat this or that? Instead, when you shift how you view meals, you're helping yourself move away from feeling anxious at meals. And you're helping your vegan child learn to eat. I hope that these 5 strategies of what to focus in meal planning for your vegan kids has given you a plan so that you can finally feel confident in feeding your kids at each stage of their growth. I know it may be challenging at first, but I'm confident you will get there. A great resource that can support you with these 5 strategies we talked about today is my free Essential Starter Kit handout. It's a great place to get started no matter what stage of growth your child may be, and no matter where in your vegan journey you may be. I'll see you next time.